everybody, this is Kristen with reportingforschizophrenia.com, and sorry I haven't made a video for a while. I didn't know what topics to talk about and sort of didn't feel like talking. I don't know why I get like that sometimes. So I'm hopefully going to be making more videos in the future and more frequently. So, okay, anyway, on with the video. I finally figured out a topic as I asked some of my friends and stuff, like what do people want to know about? So one of my friends told me that she'd like to know about how do you realize that you're going to relapse, or are there symptoms for relapse, or how do people who are involved in the lives of people who have schizophrenia, how do they know if someone's relapsing, or so for me personally, becoming aware of my illness is sort of the number one way for me to realize if I'm going to have some sort of a relapse. Because when I was younger, I was really in denial about my illness. I would end up in the hospital, and I would become stabilized on medications, and I would be doing well. And then I would leave the hospital and I'd be like, there's nothing wrong with me. Why am I on these medications? Because I was like, I'm the same person, and I don't know why they have me on these medications. And I sort of failed to realize how bad I was. And then it took me years kind of to really realize that I needed the medication. And then, like, sometimes I would be... Sorry, that was my clock. Sometimes I would sort of half realize that I had problems and be in like partial denial. So then, I'd take my medications maybe haphazardly, or, so I wasn't getting the full effect of the medications. And so I guess I just wasn't thinking as clearly as I could have been because I wasn't really taking the medications. So eventually I would just sort of spiral down, and the thing I couldn't realize that I was relapsing because I just wasn't thinking clearly enough, and I wasn't in complete acceptance of that I had a mental illness. So then, so basically every time I would end up relapsing, I really wouldn't know that it was going to happen because I wasn't aware of myself enough. But then, like, the last few times when I was sort of, really coming to a point where I was like, okay, there is something wrong with me. Maybe I do have schizophrenia. And so, I remember one time I was driving and I decided to drive down the opposite way of a one-way street, and it was like I was having a delusion that they changed all the streets for me and that they had changed the directions of the streets. So that's why I was driving that way. And then, of course, I ran into somebody. Well, I didn't run into them, but they were going the other way, and then they stopped, and I got out of my car, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, you're driving the wrong way on the one-way street. I'm like, no, I'm not. And so I got back in my car, and I turned around, and I was like, I guess I had, a mixture of sanity and insanity at that point, because I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, there's really something wrong with me if I'm driving down the wrong side of a street, and I know that, and I'm thinking that it's because of that it had been changed for me. Like, I was like, I'm like, okay, something's wrong, and I need to get help. But I did try to get help, but they didn't help me. Unfortunately, like, I was so aware of my psychoticness or my delusions, that they didn't really believe that there was anything wrong with me. So that was kind of a bad part. So I just, like, they sent me home without any treatment or anything. So that's the downside to actually being aware that you are psychotic, is, like, no one believes that you can be aware of it. So so anyway, that is, like, so for me now, I feel like I'm on the other side of having the illness, because I pretty much accept that I have it, and now I'm able to look back and say, wow, that really wasn't, for so many years, that wasn't me functioning optimally, and when I was off medication, it was like, now looking back, I can see, oh yeah, that was going in a bad direction. So for me, some of the symptoms of, possibly relapsing are, some of the symptoms that may not, really stand out, but I'm generally, like, right now, and when I was younger, before I got sick, I was generally happy, and I got along well with my parents and my family and stuff like that. And so when I first started to get ill, I noticed that I had sort of a breakdown with my family. I didn't trust, but I don't know if trust is the right word. I just did. I wanted to be alone all the time, and I was really angry at the world, and I was angry at my family for no reason, and like, I would just feel like I hated them for the things that they were, how they were, what they did, or whatever. So I became kind of an angry person, like, and I was angry with everything going on in the world, and people can have their anger with the world, but you need to, like, for me, it was sort of like a symptom of my schizophrenia, that I was just very angry all the time, like, for no reason, really. I mean, not your intermittent anger or anything. It was just, like, always being just very angry. I don't know how to describe it. So I guess that would be a symptom for me, that I wouldn't be getting along with my family, I wouldn't trust them, that they would become, like, the enemy in my life because they're such strong supporters for me. And I know that my family would, I guess they sort of recognize things when they start to go wrong, like, I don't exactly know what they recognize, that I mean, sometimes people don't recognize it until it's really to a point where it's blatantly obvious, which is a problem, because, people can have, like, milder symptoms, or, hear some voices. I've never heard voices exactly, but I know that some people have some, like, voice hearing and stuff like that, that's not too bad, but it does warrant attention. So I'm running out of time for this video, but I guess I'll have to make a part 2. But let me just say that it's not easy to figure out when someone is relapsing, and let me say a little bit more in part 2. Sorry, I'm running out of time because I am only allowed 10 minutes for video. So, okay, on to part 2. Thanks, bye.